Broaddrick's story begins in 1978. She was a registered nurse who had started her own nursing home in Van Buren, Arkansas. Bill Clinton was the state attorney general who was running for governor.
I believe the people expect me to be ready to be governor if I'm elected.
I thought he was just something that was really going to be good for Arkansas. He was a very charismatic man that had bright ideas for our state. And I just really liked him.
Broaddrick, whose married name at the time was Juanita Hickey, says she was so impressed with Clinton she volunteered to hand out bumper stickers and signs, her first and only political campaign. Broaddrick says she met Clinton for the first time when he made a campaign stop at her nursing home in the spring of 1978, when these pictures were taken.
While he was there visiting, he said, if you're ever in the Little Rock area, please drop by our campaign office. And he said, well, be sure and call me when you come in. Call down to the campaign office.
Broaddrick says not long after that conversation, she did go to Little Rock for a nursing home meeting held at the Camelot Hotel, now the Doubletree. She says she checked into the hotel and the next morning called Clinton campaign headquarters. She says she was told Clinton was at his apartment and to call him there.
I did call and ask him if he was going to be in the headquarters that day. And he said no, that he didn't plan to be there. He said, why don't I just meet you for coffee in the Camelot coffee shop?
But Broaddrick says Clinton called later. She thinks it was around 9 in the morning and asked if they could meet in her hotel room because there were reporters in the coffee shop. Did you think his interest in you at the time was personal or professional?
I thought it was professional completely.
So you thought this was going to be a business meeting?
Yes, I did. Yes, I really did.
Did you have any qualms at all about him coming to the room?
I was a little bit uneasy, but I felt a real friendship toward this man, and I didn't really feel any danger in him coming to my room. And I sort of ushered us over to the coffee. I had coffee sitting on a little table over there by the window. And it was a real pretty window view that looked down into the river. And he came around me and sort of put his arm over my shoulder to point to this little building and said that he was real interested, if he became governor, to restore that little building. And then all of a sudden, he turned me around and started kissing me. And that was a real shock.
What did you do?
I first pushed him away. I just told him, no, please don't do that. And I forget, it's been 21 years, Lisa, and I forget exactly what he was saying. It seems like he was making statements that would relate to, well, did you not know why I was coming up here? And I told him at the time, I said, I'm married, and I have other things going on in my life, and this is something that I'm not interested in.
Had you, that morning, or any other time, given him any reason to believe you might be receptive?
No. None. None whatsoever.
Then what happens?
Then he tries to kiss me again. And the second time he tries to kiss me, he starts biting on my lip. Just a minute. He starts to bite on my top lip, and I try to pull away from him. And then he forces me down on the bed. And I just was very frightened. And I tried to get away from him, and I told him no. Because I didn't want this to happen. But he wouldn't listen to me.
Did you resist? Did you tell him to stop?
Yes. I told him, please don't. He was such a different person at that moment. He was just a vicious, awful person.
You said there was a point at which you stopped resisting.
Yeah.
Why?
It was a real panicky situation. And I was even to the point where I was getting very noisy, yelling. It took me to stop. But that That's when he would press down on my right shoulder, and he would bite on my lip.
Broaddrick also says the waist of her skirt and her pantyhose were torn.
When everything was over with, and he got up, straightened himself, and I was crying at the moment, and he walks to the door and calmly puts on his sunglasses, and before he goes out the door, he says, "You better get some ice on that," and he turns them out the door.
On your lip?
Yeah.
She estimates Clinton was in her room less than 30 minutes. Is there any way at all that Bill Clinton could have thought this was consensual?
No, not with what I told him and with how I tried to push him away. It was not consensual.
You're saying that Bill Clinton sexually assaulted you, that he raped you?
Yes.
And there's no doubt in your mind that that's what happened?
No doubt whatsoever.
While the president and his lawyer declined to be interviewed on camera, through his lawyer, the president did issue a statement saying any allegation he assaulted Broaddrick is absolutely false. And when asked about it today at a news conference, the president said he had nothing to add to that statement. It's important to note, and Broaddrick concedes, that aside from her, there are no witnesses. And as far as we know, no one saw Clinton enter or leave Broaddrick's room, or even the hotel. She took no photos, kept no evidence, and the hotel has no records to confirm that she stayed there. However, Broaddrick does have a friend who backs up her story. Norma Kelsey did not want to be interviewed on camera. However, she told us she did accompany Broaddrick on that business trip to Little Rock. They even shared a hotel room. Norma says when she left that morning, Broaddrick told her she was planning to see Clinton. But Norma says when she called around lunchtime, Broaddrick was upset and crying, so she returned to the room.
Well, I was very emotional just within an hour or so after it happened. And then by the time Norma got back, my whole top lip was turned out and very swollen, very ugly looking.
Norma also says that Broaddrick's lip and mouth were badly swollen, that her pantyhose had been ripped off, and she says Broaddrick told her she had been sexually assaulted by Clinton. Did you feel any internal injuries?
Of course, I felt just the whole thing you can imagine of being violated. I felt, of course there was pain.
Did you consider going to a doctor?
No. Not at all. I just wanted to get home. I wanted this to all go away. I wanted to just walk out of there and forget that it never happened because I felt very responsible. But I had allowed him to come to my room.
Broaddrick says she decided to leave the hotel immediately without going to the nursing home meeting. She says after Norma helped ice her lip, the two of them left Little Rock and drove more than 2 hours back to Van Buren.
We were still, Lisa, in shock over what had happened. It was like, this is a horrible thing, and I'm going to wake up in a minute, and this is not going to be true.
Norma told us that on the drive back, Broaddrick was very, very upset and in shock, and says Broaddrick blamed herself for letting Clinton up to her room. And Broaddrick says she never considered going to the police, especially since Clinton was the Arkansas Attorney General at the time. The question everyone is going to ask is, Juanita, why didn't you report this 21 years ago?
I didn't think anyone would believe me in the world.
If Juanita Broaddrick ever wanted to press charges against Bill Clinton, it's too late. The statute of limitations in Arkansas is 6 years.